All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakha Kudash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into Second Esdras, the 5th chapter. Pretty much this chapter is going into, it starts off going into, the time of the destruction, all right, which is written in, in some verses and, dark sayings almost. And then it goes on to talk about how Esdras was seeking understanding as to why the Lord was doing what he was doing, all right, onto the nation of Israel. Okay, so this is Second Esdras chapter 5, verse 1. And it says, nevertheless, as coming the tokens, behold, the days shall come. So that now the angel is going to expound onto him the coming tokens, as meaning the signs of the future. So it says here, the days shall come that they which dwell upon earth shall be taken in a great number, and the way of truth shall be hidden, and the land shall be barren of faith. Now, this is talking about in these times, and ultimately when it talks about the day which dwell upon earth shall be taken in a great number, is going into the destruction. Okay, it tells you in Second Esdras chapter 9 how those that are going to be destroyed are likened onto a wave versus those that are going to be delivered, which are likened onto a drop. Okay, so you're going to have people dying in a mass number. It says, and the way of truth shall be hidden, which as you can see now, that's why really it's it's likened onto a remnant, those of us that have the way of truth, the correct truth of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. It says, so it's hidden to the world, but not to the elect. It says, and the land shall be barren of faith. All right, which once again, that's what did Yahweh Shai say? He said, when the Son of Man will deliver them speedily, but when he cometh, shall he find faith on the earth? Because with the exception of the elect, faith in Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai is pretty much, almost next to non-existent on the earth. It's just a high level of wickedness and faithlessness. Verse 2, it says, but iniquity shall be increased above that which which now thou seest, and that thou hast heard long ago. So the wickedness that you see now, it's going to be much worse in the future. It's going to be worse than anything you've seen now or anything that you've heard of in the past. And the land that thou seest now to have root shalt thou see wasted suddenly, which is talking about Babylon. All right, because we know that as the scriptures talk about sudden destruction, but it tells you in the book of Revelation that it'll take in 1 hour is this place going to be destroyed. Okay, so going on, verse 4 says, but if the Most High grant thee to live, thou shalt see after the third trumpet that the sun shall suddenly shine again in the night, and the moon thrice in the day. And as you go on down from verse 4, it talks about the destruction that's coming and also the different signs, because as the Lord said that there would be signs in the heavens and upon the earth. So there's going to be unexplainable signs that are going to be taking place. And it tells you in the book of, I believe it's Luke, the 21st chapter, that men's hearts are going to be failing them for fear of seeing the things that are going to be coming upon the earth. So there are going to be a lot of things that people won't have answers to or won't be able to explain. So as it says, thou shalt see after the third trumpet that the sun shall suddenly shine again in the night, and the moon thrice in the day. It says, and blood shall drop out of wood. So now you're going to have signs in the heavens and in the earth, And you're going to have, as it says in verse 5, and blood shall drop out of wood, and the stone shall give his voice, and the people shall be troubled. Now, when it says blood shall drop out of wood, and stone shall give his voice, this is, it's not literal that, there's going to be trees that are going to have blood dripping out of them. But what it's talking about is, I'll give you a scenario. If you have, for example, Central Park, right? You got Central Park, and people are in there, and say the destruction hits, an attack, a missile, whatever. That devastation is going to be so much that you're going to have people and trees and benches and flowers and all that mingled together in that destruction. All right. So the blood is talking about the blood of the people being mixed up with the trees and all the buildings and all of that when the destruction hits. All right. It says, and the stone shall give his voice, which is not, it doesn't mean that you're going to walk around and hear singing stones. The stone giving his voice is the sound that the stones and the buildings and the bricks are going to be making as they're getting destroyed. Okay. Like, as if a missile hits a certain area, and the building breaks down, and you hear the tumbling of the stones falling and hitting people and all of that, that's the voice of the stone. And the people shall be troubled, and they are going to be troubled because it's going to be a very chaotic and destructive time. Verse 6, and even he shall rule whom they look not for, that dwell upon the earth, which is talking about us. That's why in Wisdom of Solomon, the 5th chapter, it says, they shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation, right? And it says, and roughly paraphrasing, it tells you in the first few verses, how is he numbered among the children of God? Because they look not for us to rule, okay? It says, and the flowers, flowers, and the fowls shall take their flight away together, because when the destruction hits, you're going to have birds migrating to safer areas. Okay, just like when you see, you may hear a loud explosion in one direction, and then you'll see a whole bunch of birds. If they were there, you just see them fly, mad fast in a whole nother direction. It says, and the Sodomitish sea shall cast out fish and make a noise in the night, which many have not known, but they shall all hear the voice thereof. Now, when you look up the Sodomitish sea, or you look up other translations, the word Sodomitish, the ish is a suffix meaning pertaining to. So you may see a scripture that would say, for example, an Israelitish woman, which is a woman of Israel, pertaining to Israel. Now, when you look up the Sodomitish sea, it'll make reference to the sea or the body of water that's located on the coast or near Sodom, which today is known as the Dead Sea. Now, the Dead Sea is called the Dead Sea because it doesn't have life in it, because it's I believe the salt levels in there are too high for fish or any organisms to really survive in there. Okay, so even that is going to be a sign of unexplainable things, because that sea not being capable of having life in it, casting out fish, is an unusual sight. Okay, but also you're going to have other bodies of water that are going to be casting out fish, but those are going to be dead fish. When you go into Revelation, the 8th chapter, it tells you how the missile hit, right, which was called wormwood, and all the waters became wormwood, and all life died that were in the waters, which is going to be those different creatures, fish, and all of that. And wormwood meaning contamination. So you're going to have wonders happening in the earth, like fish coming out, being cast out of the Dead Sea. But then you also going to have different bodies of water where the missiles hit, that are going to be bringing forth those dead fishes because of the contamination going on in there. Okay, it says, and make a noise in the night, which many have not known, but they shall all hear the voice thereof. All right, which is also going into the destruction that's going to hit. The scriptures liken the missiles onto the noisome pestilence. Okay, so when all these things start going down, you're going to have destruction happening, but you're going to be having unexplainable signs and events, as the Lord said, happening in the heavens and in the earth. All right. Verse 8, it says, there shall be a confusion also in many places, and the fire shall be oft sent out again, and the wild beasts shall change their places, and menstruous women shall bring forth monsters. So basically, when all this starts going down, people are not going to have answers. They're not going to know what to do. That's why in Isaiah 33:6, it says, and wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, because a lot of people are not going to have stability or an understanding of what is going on and what to do in many places, because this destruction is not going to be just in America. America or Babylon is gonna be a main event, but other parts of the world are going to be getting destroyed. And when I say destroyed, I mean judged, and hit with different types of calamities as well. All right. It says here, and the fire shall be off sent out again, which is going into that destruction, and the different calamities. And wild beasts shall change their places. Just like the birds are going to take their flight and leave, you're going to have the animals relocating. Okay. In some cases, you're going to have animals relocating their habitation because it becomes uninhabitable. And in some cases, you're going to have animals relocating. Like today, in this time, you'll see like a bear or, I don't know, a coyote or some shit coming more towards where people are dwelling. And why is that? Because they're looking for food, or they're looking for, things that they can survive off of, because it's getting harder and harder to dwell where they are. So all in all, you're going to have migration. You're going to have animals changing locations from one place to another, where it's much better suited for them. It says, and menstruous women shall bring forth monsters, which these monsters are talking about deformed babies. Okay, babies that have they're born not looking like the average baby. Okay. Which we even see now. It says, and ultimately, a lot of course, it's ultimately judgment, but a big portion of that is because of what these women, how they take care of themselves. They don't properly take care of themselves, and that affects the baby. When you have a baby in your womb and your body is toxic, what do you think is going to happen to that baby? You have women that's smoking while they're pregnant. Women that are eating all types of destructive, foods, and putting all these negative things that are not good for their body or their child. And then their child comes out with deformities, and then they wonder why. It says, and salt waters shall be found in the sweet. Now, when you look up, like I said, in other translations as well, the sweet meaning fresh water. Okay, so you're gonna have, as it says, salt waters shall be found in the fresh waters, which is gonna make it hard, because salt water is not really drinkable. You have to filter it. But in places where you would go to find fresh water, you're not going to get fresh water from there. All right. So it's going to go in. It's also talking about the basically the hard times and the difficulties that are going to come about. All right. And it also tells you in 2nd Esdras, the 6th chapter, that I believe is the 6th chapter, it mentions how for the springs shall be stayed, and for 3 hours they shall not run, going into the different droughts that are going to be happening as well. It says, and all friends shall destroy one another. Why? Because of the hard times. It tells you that also in 2nd Esdras 6, I believe around the 24th verse, because things are going to get so hard that everybody's going to be for themselves. It says, then shall wit hide itself, and understanding withdraw itself into his secret chamber. So you're going to have on a deeper level the famine of the word, where when all these chaotic things start happening, the Lord is not going to have us out there. That's going to be the time when the the doors of mercy are going to be shutting, and the Lord is going to withdraw us, out from the easy access public opening, as it says in Amos 8:11. But even on a basic level, just basic understanding and decision making is not going to be easily coming to mind for people. That's why there's going to be so much distress and chaos and panic. Verse 10, and shall be sawed off shall be sought of many and yet not be found. Yeah, people are going to be seeking answers. They're going to be seeking understanding of what's going on and what do we do. Does anybody know what's happening? Is there anywhere we can go? Like, how do we make it out of this? But as it says, and shall not be found. And then shall unrighteousness and incontinency be multiplied in the earth. Incontinency goes into lack of self-control. All right. So, which means that people are going to be doing whatever they want to do. All right. As it says, the course of their actions shall stand in their power. Verse 11, and this is going to lead to chaos. When you have incontinency and unrighteousness multiplied upon earth, Yahushua prophesied in Matthew 24, because of iniquity, right? Because iniquity shall arise or shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. When you go into iniquity, it goes into chaos or anarchy, which is without rule. And when you have no rule, you have incontinency and unrighteousness. Verse 11, one land also shall ask another and say, is righteousness that maketh a man righteous gone through thee? And they shall say, no. Yeah, people are going to be searching for the truth, searching for answers, searching for men of the Lord, and they're not going to find them. They're going to, I know there was some of them in Jersey, or some of them in New York, some of them in this area, but they ain't going to find them. Verse 12, and at the same time shall men hope, but nothing obtain. They shall labor, but their ways shall not prosper. So you're gonna have people praying, you're gonna have people hoping, but their hopes are gonna be in vain. All right, there's gonna be no solution for them if they're not of the elect. All right, they're gonna try to put certain things together. They're gonna try to make certain things, try to put different plans together, but it's all gonna fail. Why? Because it's the time of judgment, and in the time of judgment, if you are not destined for mercy or salvation, then the time of judgment is meant for you to be judged. That means that if there's a famine, the Lord is bringing the famine for you to get killed in the famine, not for you to find a way out. So that's why anything you plan is going to fail, because the point of the famine is for you to starve to death or at least get weak enough and die of some other disease. Verse 13, it says, to shew thee such tokens I have leave. So those tokens were the end days. All right, the destruction that and the hard times and the chaos that's going to be happening, the different signs and unexplainable things that were going to be happening in the last days. That the first 12, 13 verses is what the angel just revealed to Ezra. All right, it says, if thou wilt pray again and weep as now and fast even days, then thou shalt hear yet greater things. See? So it goes to show you. So why was Ezra able to receive these revelations? Because he fasted. All right. It says ultimately because the Lord was dealing with him, but as the angel kept telling him to fast. So there's something real spiritual about fasting, especially when you fast for a long period of time. Your flesh gets super weak, but your spirit gets very, very heightened, and that's why you're able to receive more visions and see things more spiritually. I forgot the term for it, but you become oh man, I forgot the term for it. But basically, things of the flesh become very trivial. They become very, very even vexing to hear about, because it becomes so unimportant. When you fast, a certain amount of days, certain conversations people have just vexes you, because in your mind it's so irrelevant. People talking about regular things in their life become so irrelevant, because your flesh is your spirit is on such a heightened level that the only thing you're interested in is spiritual conversation or things of the spirit, things that pertain to the spirit. All right, in essence, you can say your spirit becomes more alive, because now your flesh is not drawing so much on it. So it says verse 14, then I awaked, and an extreme fearfulness went through all my body, and my mind was troubled, so that it fainted. So the angel that was come to talk with me held me and comforted me and set me up upon my feet. And in the second night it came to pass that Salathiel, the captain of the people, came unto me, saying, where hast thou been, and why is thy countenance so heavy? Knowest thou not that Israel is committed unto thee in the land of their captivity? Up then and eat bread, and forsake us not, as the shepherd that leaveth his flock in the hands of cruel wolves. Because they were looking at, because Ezra is a prophet and a priest, right? So they were looking to him for guidance and leadership, but here he is in the field, for days, and just left them over there. So that's why Shealtiel came up to him to basically say, look, like you basically left us hanging, what are you doing? But it says here, verse 19, then said I unto him, go thy ways from me, and come not nigh me. And he heard what I said and went from me. So pretty much Ezra told him to leave him alone. Because Ezra was in the spirit and he was receiving these revelations. Okay, and it was important that he remained in the state he was, all right, unaltered by the condition of the people at the time. Verse 20, and interestingly enough, he was there because of the condition of the people, because he felt troubled in his spirit upon seeing Jake in that condition. Verse 20, and so I fasted 7 days, which is a long time, mourning and weeping, like as Uriel the angel commanded me. And after 7 days, so it was that the thoughts of my heart were very grievous unto me again, and my soul recovered the spirit of understanding, and I began to talk with the Most High again, and said, O Lord, that bearest rule of every wood of the earth, and of all the trees thereof, thou hast chosen thee one vine. And of all lands of the whole world, thou hast chosen thee one pit, which goes to show you that the word pit is also used to refer to a land or a landmass. So when you hear about the bottomless pit, it's not an actual pit, but it's a landmass, which is Europe. But that's a breakdown for another time. So it says here, and of all the flowers thereof one lily. So he's listing the different chosen. Basically, what's the Most High's favorite flower? What's his favorite land? What's his favorite, So it says, verse 25, and that one pit is talking about the land of Israel. That's the chosen land. Verse 25, and of all the depths of the sea, thou hast filled thee one river, and of all builded cities, thou hast hallowed Sion unto thyself. And of all the fowls that are created, thou hast named thee one dove, and of all the cattle that are made, thou hast provided thee one sheep. And that's why we're likened onto the Lord's favorite animal, which is the sheep. Verse 27. And among all the multitudes of people, thou hast gotten thee one people, which is Israel. And unto this people whom thou lovest, thou gavest a law that is approved of all. And now, O Lord, why hast thou given this people over unto many, which are the heathens? And upon one root hast thou prepared others, and why hast thou scattered thy only one people among many? Now, when it says, and upon one root thou hast prepared others, when you look at how it's worded in other translations, it'll tell you that basically Ezra is saying, why hast thou dishonored this root, which is your chosen, over the others? Because Ezra is speaking from the perspective of the condition that Jake was in, okay, the suffering. It says, and why hast thou scattered thy only one people among many? Because through, of course, through traveling and migration, but through captivity is mainly how the nation was scattered. It says, and they which did gainsay thy promises and believe not thy covenants have trodden them down, which are the heathens. All right, because that's throughout our history, really, particularly at the time that Ezra is speaking of, we were under the control of the heathens. Verse 30, if thou didst so much hate thy people, yet shouldest thou punish them with thine own hands. So if you hated us so much, why didn't you punish us with your own hands instead of giving us over to these heathens? Now, when I had spoken these words, the angel that came to me the night afore was sent unto me, which was the angel Uriel, and said unto me, hear me, and I will instruct thee. Hearken to the thing that I say, and I shall tell thee more. And I said, speak on, my Lord. Then said he unto me, thou art sore troubled in mind for Israel's sake. Lovest thou that people better than he that made them? So do you love Israel more than the creator of Israel? And I said, No, Lord, but of very grief have I spoken. For my reins pain me every hour, while I labor to comprehend the way of the Most High and to seek out part of his judgment. So Ezra was trying to understand the mind of God. Why do you say you love us? You say we are your chosen people, and yet this is what you're doing to us. And he said unto me, Thou canst not. So the angel told him plainly, you wasting your time. You can't. And that's why it says in Isaiah 55 and 8, or I believe it's 8 or 11, that for as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are the Lord's ways to our ways. So you cannot understand the mind of the Most High. You can understand how the Most High works and operates in certain situations, but you cannot understand. That's why the scriptures say, who has counseled the Most High? Who have taught him? It says, and he said unto me, Thou canst not. And I said, Wherefore, Lord? Whereunto was I born then? Or why was not my mother's womb then my grave? That I might not have seen the travail of Jacob and the wearisome toil of the stock of Israel. So why was I born then? Why didn't I just die at birth, instead of having to see the suffering of my people? And he said unto me, Number me the things that are not yet come. Gather me together the dross, which it should say drops. It's an error in the King James Online version. But when you go into the physical apocrypha, it says drops, like raindrops, right? So it says, gather me together the drops that are scattered abroad. Make me the flowers green again that are withered. Open me the places that are closed, and bring me forth the winds that are in them, or that in them are shut up. Show me the image of a voice, and then I will declare to thee the thing that thou laborest to know. So pretty much these are your chances of understanding the ways of the Most High. Now, the things that the angel listed, these are not even tasks for the Lord. These are basic things. These are less than basic things for the Lord. But you see how impossible that sounds to us? What you mean gather together the raindrops? First off, the raindrops they drop so fast it doesn't even look like drops. It looks like just water pouring. How do you even count that, let alone gather that? Right? And so you see a withered plant and go and make it unwithered. Go and give it life again. Or show the image of a voice. So verse 38, and I said, O Lord, that bearest rule, who may know these things? But he that hath not his dwelling with men. So we don't, as a man here, we're not capable of knowing these things. Verse 39, as for me, I am unwise. How may I then speak of these things whereof thou askest me? Then said he unto me, like as thou canst do none of these things that I have spoken of, even so canst thou not find out my judgment, or in the end, the love that I have promised unto my people. So just like you can't understand and answer and do the things that I just asked you, you can't understand the love of the Most High for his people and his judgments. So the reason the Most High does certain things, that's why they say, the Lord works in mysterious ways, because only he knows and understands exactly why he does things the way he does it. Verse 41, and I said, Behold, O Lord, yet art thou nigh unto them that be reserved till the end, right? Those that are alive in the end, the last days. And what shall they do that have been before me, or we that be now, or they that shall come after us? And he said unto me, I will liken my judgment unto a ring. Like as there is no slackness of the last, even so there is no swiftness of the first. Meaning that the judgment or the deeds the Lord is going to do is not going to vary based on, what time you are in. So a ring, when you look at a ring or a circle, it goes from let's say point A back to point A. All right. So if you have motion, if you have, I don't know, maybe something moving within this ring and it's moving at the same pace, whatever point A in the ring or in the circle. Matter of fact, you know what? Let me just illustrate this better. Let's get an image of a circle. Image. Okay. All right, here we go. So here's yep, this is a good one. Here's an image of a circle, right? And then here you can see, let's say this is point A, which is the dark part, and then point B, which is the light part. Now, whatever point A feels, point B is also going to feel because it's a ring. So it's going to go just like that, just like that, just like that. So whatever hits point A is going to hit point B. Whatever hits point B is going to hit point A. It's not going to be swifter for point B or slower for point A. It's going to be the same all around. Okay, so that's why the Lord said he's going to liken his judgment onto a ring. Like as there is no slackness of the last, even so there is no swiftness of the first. So it's the same all throughout. Because that Ezra was basically asking, okay, so how what about, like, I understand what's going to be happening to those in the end days, in the past, Slaki, in the future, but what about those that were in the past, or those that are alive in my time now, or those that are going to come right after us? What about us? Like, what's the difference going to be? And so the Lord told him there ain't going to be no difference, because the judgment is going to be like a ring for beginning and end. Verse 43, it says, so I answered and said, couldst thou not make those that have been made and be now and that are for to come at once, that thou mayest shew thy judgment the sooner? So Esdras was saying, well, you got people in the past, you got people now, you got people that are going to come in the future, and because of this, we got to pretty much, the judgment is going to be prolonged. So why can't you just put us all alive in this one time and then just bring the judgment now? Verse 44, then answered he me and said, the creature may not haste above the maker, neither may the world hold them at once that shall be created therein. So the Lord is basically saying that the order he set it up, he didn't design everybody to be on the earth at the same time. That's why you have something called reincarnation. One generation is here, and then another generation cometh after, when, and then so on and so forth. So you die, then you go, another people are on the earth. They die, you come back. That's why there's a cycle of reincarnation. Verse 45, and I said, as thou hast said unto thy servant, that thou, which givest life to all, hast given life at once to the creature that thou hast created, and the creature bear it. Even so it might now also bear them that now be present at once. Meaning, what he's saying is, well, you've said that you can pretty much put all the life in the earth at once, and the earth can bear it. So why not do that now, right? If the earth can bear, if whatever point in time you decide to put all the spirits, all the life on earth at once, right? Because you give life to all, as it says, has given life at once to the creature that thou hast created. Because when you go up a verse, it tells you the creature, right, the world may not hold all them at once that shall be created therein. But keep in mind that there, even as it was revealed to Esdras, that in the last days, those that are in the graves are going to come up. All right. So those that died are going to come alive again to be judged. So there's going to be a lot of people at once. But Ezra is saying that if that can happen, then that means that it's also, if it's possible that that can happen at any point in time, then that means it's also possible that you can do that right now. Right? If at any point the earth can bear everybody at once, then why not make that point right now? Why not make it this present time? Verse 46, and he said unto me, ask the womb of a woman, and say unto her, if thou bringest forth children, why doest thou it not together, but one after another? So pretty much go find a pregnant woman and ask her, when you got children, right, why don't you bring them all together at once? Right? As it says, pray her therefore to bring forth 10 children at once. So the angel, man, and it shows you the vast difference in understanding of the thoughts of man versus the thoughts of the heavenly, the Most High and the angels. Because as it says, why don't you go ask a pregnant woman, right, to bring forth all her children at once? If you got a woman that has 10 children, ask her to give birth to all 10 at the same time. Verse 47, and I said, she cannot, but must do it by distance of time. Yeah, you got to bring one, and then you got to bring another, and then you got to birth another, right? Verse 48, then said he unto me, even so have I given the womb of the earth to those that be sown in it in their times. So he said, all right, so that's the same way that I've designed the earth, that it can't just bring forth everybody, or it's not set up. The order is not for it to bring forth everybody at once, but is to bring forth one at a time, right? Those that be sown in it in their times. Just like when you put your seed, you sow your seed into a woman, you sow your seed into a woman in a span of 9 months, she's going to bring forth a child, right? So the same way, that's how the Lord has designed the earth, that you're going to have certain people that are in there, that are put on the earth at a certain time, and then they're going to die. And then later on, there's going to be another round, another batch of people, another new generation that are going to come in their time. Verse 49, for like as a young child may not bring forth the things that belong to the aged, right? Because a woman, a child, a girl, a young child that hasn't reached the point of age is not going to be able to have children. She's not going to be able to do the things of an older woman because it's not time yet. Her body is not designed to do that at that time, right? So even so have I disposed meaning to set up or to organize. So even so have I set up the world which I created. So on the earth, the Lord has set it up to where at a certain point in time, it does certain things. It's designed that way. There's an order. So what Ezra in essence was asking was for the Lord to break that order and to just have everybody at once. But as the scriptures tell you, he doth not stir nor move the times. Verse 50, and I asked and said, seeing thou hast now given me the way, I will proceed to speak before thee. So since you've given me permission, I'm going to keep on talking. I'm going to say what I got to say. For our mother, of whom thou hast told me that she is young, draweth now nigh unto age. So you said that she's young, but now, she's coming of age. He answered me and said, ask a woman that beareth children, and she shall tell thee. Say unto her, wherefore are on Salakia, say unto her, wherefore are unto they whom thou hast now brought forth like those that were before, but less of stature. So basically ask a woman that has children, why is it that the children that you bring forth later or you bring forth now are like the ones you brought forth before, but are less of stature? They're not of the same strength. And she shall answer thee that they that be born in the strength of youth are of one fashion, and they that are born in the time of age, when the womb faileth, are otherwise. So when a woman, that's why the scriptures talk about that the young women marry, because when a woman has children at the appropriate age in her prime, in her in the perfect time when she is youthful and strong, the children are going to grow and they're going to come out stronger. But when she waits and waits and waits to where she's getting older and then the womb is failing, is not as strong and youthful as it was before, the children that come of it are not going to be as strong as the ones that would come from a young woman's womb. And that's why there's more complications when a woman is older. And that's also why Sarah laughed when the angel told her that she was going to have, or told Abraham that she was going to have a child at her age. Verse 54, consider thou therefore also how that ye are less of stature than those that were before you. See? So because those that were before Ezra's time were put they were brought forth on the earth when the earth was in a more youthful state. Verse 55, and so are they that come after you less than ye. And that's us. So when you look when you look at us and you look at the earth is in a very old and weak state now. Okay. And that's why we are also in a weak state now. That's why in the ancient world, you could have men fast for 7 days, for 21 days. Men would have the ability to, do certain things, to have a stronger memory, and all of these things that we can't do now because we are weaker, because we're born in the old age of the earth, so to speak. So it says, and so are they that come after you less than ye, as the creatures which now begin to be old and have passed over the strength of youth. So it makes sense why David was able to slay a lion and a bear. Don't go try that now, because it's going to go the opposite way. It says, verse 56, then said I, Lord, I beseech thee, if I have found favor in thy sight, shew thy servant by whom thou visitest thy creature. So Ezra wanted to basically find out, well, through who are you going to visit us, or visit the world? All right. And then when you go into the next chapter, in chapter 6, it goes more into the continuation of this. All right. But that's pretty much it for Second Ezra, chapter 5. Let me take a look here. Let's see. Shalom, shalom. Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai Barakatham to you all. Yep, this is the brother Naquam, Ecclesiasticus 39:16. All the works of the Lord are exceeding good, and whatsoever he commandeth shall be accomplished in due season. Beautiful precept. There you go. Yep, so that was pretty much it for Second Ezra chapter 5. Lord willing, that was clear and understandable and edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakha Kudash. And until next time, Shalom.